Have you ever thought that UX could have some colors? Green is my favorite one. Have you ever heard about green design? Green UX? Wait for us. This episode is for you. Hello and welcome to a new episode in D-Talks. This is Amr Deep. I am the UX dinosaur. And today I'm actually having a friend of mine and a colleague. We have worked together and we've been actually doing great work together. She is an ambassador of the good color of UX. Actually, it's a green UX. I call it green UX because it's all about sustainability, about inclusivity, and I couldn't find someone better than Stine to join us today to tell us more about the sustainable UX and her perspective. From where I came and when I came, because I'm now a dinosaur, so there wasn't much of sustainable UX or green design concepts or principles in the past. The UX principles in general have evolved a lot during the last decade. And our episode today is all about this, about how the sustainable design have evolved over the years, what happened through the last decade, and what will happen in the future. Of course, we have all witnessed the rise of AI and how this impact and influence the sustainable design. All my thoughts about sustainable design and green design, that does it really matter? Does it really help? Does it really have that impact now? Because I'm very old and a boomer, so maybe Stine, because she is younger, way younger than me, so she can also help me to have this perspective of what's going on now and how the future would be. I'm a big supporter of this, and I'm also a big supporter. I'm celebrating also women in tech, and that's why I'm really happy having Stine here. Wait for me for just a couple of seconds, and then we'll have Stine on screen. Don't go anywhere. Stine, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
A pleasure, same here. And I'm really happy having you in my podcast, and actually would like to have more of these conversations all the time. But first, let's introduce yourself, because I'm happy that you have you here, but not everyone actually know you.
Yeah, so my name is Stine. I'm based in Copenhagen. I'm a UX designer, freelance, and I think to be a bit more specific for why I'm relevant for today is that I'm very passionate about sustainable UX design. I'm an ambassador for what we call the Sustainable UX Network, and I do talks and workshops around that. I've been in UX for quite a while now, and the last 2-3 years has been all about sustainable UX. Yeah, so that's me for a short intro.
It's kind of a new world for me. I came from a world that we used to care much about what's going on the screen, think that it is shiny and bright, always more of a graphical interface rather than having a system thinking and a design thinking, and also how the design influence people's lives, and even a deeper look like the sustainable UX. And here we also need to set like the context and the idea behind this. So can you define what is the sustainable UX in general?
Yeah, definitely. So it's quite a broad topic. So to break it a bit down, I usually divide it up to sustainable UX in environmental area and in the social area. And to start with the environmental area, it's all about building websites and products for low energy use and therefore low CO2 emissions. But it can also be about designing products that helps the user take more sustainable decisions environmentally. Then it's also about social sustainability, and that's all about designing inclusive solutions that recognize and appreciate all the variety of humans here in the world, of race and gender, age, ability, culture, religion, all of these things. And I just want to point out why this is so important. Because the reason for talking about environmental sustainability in digital design is, and I have some numbers for you here. So
Yeah.
the internet and connected devices actually account for 3.7% of the global CO2 emissions. So that's more than the aviation industry that we often look towards and say they're doing bad things. We can look towards ourselves and think, okay, we're also in this digital world that is very harmful for our planet. And also the internet consumes 6.2% of the worldwide power supply. And only around 30% of this is actually coming from renewable sources. So that are some of the things about environmental sustainability. And the reason for talking about this for social sustainability point of view is that we often see that a lot of the products that we have put into the world already are inaccessible for people. And that could be, when we talk about accessibility, often people think that that could be like blind people or disabled in one way or the other. But if you look a bit broader, this could also be not if you're blind, but if you just forgot your glasses. So it's the wide variety of people that we should design for. And that's all about social sustainability. And then we also see that the internet is quite biased. I have a good example here. So if we look at Google Translate, for example, or other translation tool, I saw some research showing that they are actually quite gender biased. And you can go try this yourself. So in Danish, the word kæreste, or like your partner in life, that in English is often boyfriend or girlfriend. And if you go and try to put some sentences in that, then Google Translate needs to choose if it want to translate it to girlfriend or boyfriend. And that's very gender biased. Exactly as you would imagine that it would say, for example, a doctor is a boyfriend or a nurse is a girlfriend or something like that.
Yeah, if someone angry, definitely is a girlfriend.
That could maybe be one of the translation that it would do. Go try that. Let's see.
Definitely. I believe this was a very good introduction to, because you are giving the human scent of an industry that it is very dry. Usually we tend to connect UX to business and business needs and a final product that actually is just another application or a website or something similar to this, but actually it has a very human depth and have a very human impact. And that's why we sometimes see those challenges actually to people accept the idea and how those can come to reality. So I believe there are some big challenges into this and applying and implementing sustainable UX. What is the biggest challenges that face implementation of sustainable UX?
Yes, I think the first challenge that comes to mind is business versus sustainability goals. Often we see that businesses, they want to sell more, but from a sustainable perspective, we don't want to sell more. We want to sell the right things to the right people. Or it could be about having as many clicks or as many the user as long time as possible on your website. And from a sustainable perspective, we might want to have our users stay for a short period of time so they don't use too much energy. They don't get caught up in this social media where they just scroll and scroll and scroll. So for a sustainable perspective, you want less click and less time on the internet. So that's some of the big dilemmas. And to broaden that up a bit is of course this the business goal and having a misconceptions that when businesses wanna or they don't want to incorporate this because they don't have time and budget for it, and they say it's just extra cost, and they don't know where to start. But actually, we often see that all of these concerns are not valid, if you understand me correctly, because we see that there are a lot of positive things. So
I guess the dark patterns like business more, because having those people more, spending more time, be hooked to a product or a service, actually helping business to grow and have more money. And actually more money means more consumption, and this is not efficient so much. And I believe this is very good to also a very good argument. So how sustainable UX in general could be good for business? Maybe this can solve the dilemma then.
Yeah, so there are actually a lot of research showing these things. So some of the key arguments that I often bring up, if we start a bit internally in the companies, we see that, or at least research shows that employee engagement goes up. I found some research saying that over 70% of employees in large UX companies prefer working for organizations that have a robust environmental agenda. And in a bit in the same way for customer engagement and loyalty, that the same research showed that 88% of customers would stick with a company that focuses on sustainability. So yeah, what company doesn't want engaged employees and engaged customers? So I think that's a really big argument for that.
I believe so. If I'm a business owner myself, I would like to have more employees and have more efficient products. But also this can lead to some difficulties and efficiency into, not inefficiency, but what is the result of this? What is the return on investment on sustainability in general? Is it one of the dilemmas as well?
Yeah.
The return on investment?
Yeah, you could say. Again, research shows that it actually can have a very big impact on your revenue growth. So, for example, companies that can reduce expenses by optimizing website performance and choosing low carbon strategies in design and code, for example, green hosting, they can reduce expenses. And we also see that stock prices performs are, or the way they performed are correlated with their sustainable business practices. But I think that says like a little bit of that it's that making it a bit difficult is that it's so hard to measure. And often we see that metrics are, or it's hard to put up metrics. Of course, we could say something about how much CO2 is emitted per click. But as we just talked about before, the sustainable area is so much more. So having these KPIs or goals for sustainability, that can be a bit hard.
And setting measures as well into when the sustainable design can be really beneficial for business, and when it actually can hinder the business, and how business can pay back to the environment, to the human, and how this influence can actually go two ways between business and consumers in the right way, I guess. But a lot of this actually relates to maybe culture, from what I see, and also from the old man that I've been. So I didn't find all actually countries or companies or organizations actually do the same or have the same interest in this. And in your opinion, how and why those the sustainable UX actually vary in different countries? I think it's I can see a big difference here in some areas.
I think it's a hard question to answer because it's very different from industry to industry. Of course, there's some industries that are inherently about sustainability, working for a better world, and there are some, like, it's also about government, as we maybe talked a bit about with the US
exactly
getting out of the Paris Agreement and all of these things. So
Yeah, exactly. This is
It's
also,
all intertwined with politics and companies and profit, and yeah,
I
there's so
guess,
many factors.
from where I stand, I believe it's all about prioritization. So when those countries and different organization actually prioritize what matters right now, and maybe sometimes it's just short-sighted, so they just see for short and medium term benefit of what they're doing, but actually this is not the case in many different areas in the world. I have a long experience with companies and organizations and government in Middle East, and I see a big shift into this. Right now, governments like in Saudi Arabia or in UAE and Emirates, they have actually put some laws into this. They actually to promote sustainable design and having the human perspective into all the user experience work and all of the IT in general. I guess there is some also different laws and regulations about this.
Definitely, if we look into accessibility, right, with the Web Accessibility Act, so some things are happening there definitely. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see how that could move over to like a broader view of social sustainability. So not only accessibility, but also something about inclusivity, and then maybe also something about CO2 emissions or something like that. I
Yeah,
know they're
yeah.
already talking a bit about it in the EU, but what exactly, I'm not sure. I'm looking forward to seeing
But
how that ends.
I guess it has this high priority, let's say, in more of the Scandinavian countries over even the rest of Europe. Do you agree to this?
It might have. Um, I hope. At least we have like a strong history in design. And when we talk about at least for a Scandinavian, it's like physical design and all of these things and moving into digital. And when we talk about sustainable UX design, it's often actually very close to good UX. So if we can say we're a country of like delivering good digital products, then it's often also good sustainability in the way that we provide efficient user journeys.
Yeah,
We do what is best for the user and all of these things.
yeah. And I guess it was also a journey. So I will take a break and we'll come back to talk about the journey and time and how the sustainability changed. Just stay there. And here we are again. Hello again. And as I've mentioned, it was a journey for sustainable design. And we have agreed into a discussion before this recording about, yeah, maybe it's very interesting to look back into what had happened into a decade of time. And I believe that a decade sounds a lot, but uh, have the changes have been that much into the past decade for sustainable design?
Yeah, so actually, as you said before, I looked into this and did a lot of research and figured out what has actually happened. And starting looking into accessibility, we saw that this Web Accessibility Act actually came in 2016. So that's of course great for social sustainability that we're looking more into this accessibility. Um, and actually, that when talking about accessibility, we can also mention the Web Content Accessibility Guideline, of course, but they are actually back from 1999, so they are
Yeah.
old, old, old. Um, and
Yeah.
and seeing that things have actually first started to happen in 2016, and now they're becoming these official laws that we have to adhere to. It just shows a bit of how long time or how long time things are
Journey.
taking
Yeah.
to actually happen. Um, so thinking about accessibility has been going a bit slow, but I think really things are happening right now. Then of course we cannot talk about the last decade or maybe even just the last 5 years without talking about AI.
Yeah.
It has been huge, and we also, of course, if we look forward, we can definitely talk more about AI, but that has been
Yeah.
a game changer. It's going to use a lot of energy, a lot of data storage, and all of these
Yeah,
things.
yeah. We're coming to this in a second, but
Yeah.
if we look to the best and we see this is a very slow and steady, is it a steady that maturing in the right direction? Do you believe? Because also I believe it relates to the maturity, how much maturity needed from different organizations or government actually to adhere to those. Maybe the problem was maturity or actually raising awareness around those. How do you
Mm.
see this?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think when I've looked a bit around, we see all of these companies having 2030 goals about being net zero or carbon negative,
Yeah.
and all of these things. So I think like the last couple of years, it's been going a much higher level in companies that now it's a part of the strategic level.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, maybe also we can see this into from big organizations. They start to do this more and more, like Google, for example, or Apple. They do this more and more, but larger organizations in size, but they are not that much intact with a large user base. They actually don't do this much. So, for example, uh, media
Mm.
giants, they don't do much of this, and I would like, or I would love to see more of these movements happen. Also, I have noticed that maybe the percentage of those laws represent a very low number of laws that have been come to a discussion in a parliament or on a public discussion. Sometimes
Mm.
it need to be having this public awareness onto some of those topics.
Yeah. I think definitely it's a hard thing to do, but storytelling, like telling these great stories and sharing that these things can do good for business and good for a country or good for whatever. Like it's so important to have
Yeah.
these stories visible, in
Yes.
my opinion.
Yeah. And this was the best. And we just caught up with the AI. How the future will look like on your point of view from where you stand.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's continue in AI. For me right now, it's hard to see where this will, like how it will evolve. I'm pretty sure we'll see it more and more. And as I said before, there will be more and more use for data storage. And just to put that a bit concrete, so when we talk about data storage, these are it's not in the cloud, it's in these data centers that are using a lot of energy and a lot of water to cool them down. So that's why this is actually quite a huge problem if it's not run on renewable energy.
Mm,
So yeah, I've heard experts reflecting saying, okay, the only way that AI can become sustainable is if it can um, help us solve some of these very complex issues. So that's my hope, that we can actually use this as a tool to move forward with all of these
yeah.
big questions and issues we have talked about today.
A lot of consumption, but I guess also AI will solve the problem of having maturity quicker and adoption of ideas, because also the AI can offer sustainable solutions because it's efficient, so it can save a lot of time. For example, if you have
Mm,
to make to make a report or build a code that takes you
mm,
a couple of days in front of your computer, now it can take a few minutes. So actually it can save from one side, but also a lot
mm,
of computing on the other side. I have seen this statement by the OpenAI chairman, the CEO, Sam Altman, and he said that the cost of AI will be reduced by 10th times. So it will be over the time, it will be also the cost of this will be going lower and lower. Hopefully also the consumption going lower and lower. We have seen also
mm,
some of those examples like the DeepSeek, the model, and how having an open source model can actually solve a lot of computing power. Those can be a good discussion in the future how the AI can actually help the sustainable design and inclusive design as well.
Yeah, and from a design perspective, we can hope that maybe instead of thinking like, hey, we should just be more efficient and our processes should go faster, maybe we can say, okay, maybe if we take some of the tedious work or do some things more efficiently in the design process, maybe we can have some more time to look into accessibility or to think more about inclusivity and all
Yeah,
of these things. I use AI tools to help us do that. So my hope is at least that we can, use these tools to enhance these
yeah,
or improve the way we work with these areas.
exactly. Improve the way that we work with. And the we part, this is maybe I will just here. Who's we? Is it the UX professionals only, or is it anyone involved in the design process? Is it the organizations, managers, and head? Who are we are
Yeah,
responsible
so
for this?
I would say that's everybody. Um, Leaders, designers, whole organizations, government, all of these things. What I think is quite interesting as I'm a UX designer is to think about all of the things you can do as a UX designer. Um, Without like I hear designers saying, "Oh, I don't have buy-in for business or for leadership or something like that, so
Hmm.
I cannot do anything about it because I'm just a lonely designer in a big company."
Yeah,
But there are so much you can do actually. A lot of the sustainability decisions in a digital product are actually things that you can take decisions about in the UX process in the early discover phase and wireframing and stuff like that. So my everybody has a responsibility, and I think the more power you have, the more responsibility you have. But also empowering the single person out there
yeah,
in the companies is important to me.
exactly. With the great power comes a great responsibility. Spider-Man theme. I do like it
Oh,
because
sure.
actually it makes sense here that if you have a big organization that has impact on people's life and human, so actually you need to do something towards this.
Mm.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see all of this and the journey, and actually we look forward to have more of these maybe after a while and see how the future is behaving and what the future can offer to us. If you have one piece of advice or final note for all of the UX professionals and um, organizations to contribute to sustainable design, what will be your advice or final note?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect question for like to continue on what I just talked about. So like remember that you have the power yourself to do things, and you can do that by start educating yourself, start trying out these methods, and to be able to do that, maybe we could encourage the companies to make room for designers to try out these things. If we don't have it in our education yet, then we need to be able to learn these things and try it out in the company, so the companies could make room for doing these kind of things and trying new things out to build better and more sustainable products. So yeah,
Yeah,
that would be my advice.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And definitely, this was a fantastic to end with. I will. I will be definitely waiting for another round of this talk about maybe specific examples, and maybe we look into deeper discussion around some inclusive design techniques or examples on how to offer some efficient solutions to others to use. Maybe some not only examples, also techniques and strategies to help everyone
Mhm.
with those. This would be,
Okay.
I guess, will be very beneficial for everyone. But thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm really appreciate having you here and looking forward to have you once more.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Thank you very much. I will go now for a break. Don't go anywhere. I will come back. and here I am again. What an episode! Actually, I did like all what I did here because I have learned a lot. We have great examples. We have seen how the journey was for sustainable design and how much future can hold for us. It's a continuous journey because it was a decade that we were talking about, but it's still slow. But I guess it will be much faster in the future. I do like also that I had Stine because we have different perspective, and all of this contrast actually can help us to offer more and more of those sustainable solutions and offer the benefit for others. I really thank Stine once again to have here, and I would finish with her words that if you have the power, you have the responsibility to contribute. It's a common responsibility for all of us, head managers, UX professionals, human, actually, to continue the sustainability journey. I would like to thank you all and see you next time.